So I've now finished the 2 tacos that I'm going to join together to form my pod. So if we look at them, you can see that then if they fit together, they're not going to fit together very well. They're not even at the end, so one's above and one's below. And what we need to do is we need to add a bit more work to just one side of each pod to allow us to do that. And that will then allow us to join it. So this is a joined pod. So the white beads that you can see are the extra beads that I have added for this. So let me show you that on one pod. So I've got my needle threaded on the end of the thread that's left, and I've got some white beads to use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get and work a row, but at the end I don't do a herringbone. I treat that effectively as another peyote stitch, and I just add one bead on either end, and you do it on either end. So let me do that. So it is just what you've been doing all along, one bead in each space along the row. And then one bead when we get there on the end. And then you need to do that, the same thing on the other pod. So I'll come back to the video when I've done the other pod and I'm ready to join them together. Okay, so I've now got both of my pods that have got the ends on them and that extra row, and you can see the white is only on one side of the row, not the other side. You'll notice on this end, this one, that there's no thread ends. So what I did when I'd worked that last bit of the adding the bead, I wove my thread along the diagonal. That's quite a good place to, and quite an easy place to weave. And then I went backwards and forwards a couple of times just to secure it. So I now have my 2 pods, and if I hold them against each other, on that side there's no difference to before, but if I turn one over, what you can see is that they start to join together, and they do look like they could interlock. It doesn't look perfect at the moment, but that's fine. Our tensioning will pull it all together. So I'm going to start off joining these 2 pods together, and we are generally going to actually join them with peyote stitch, except for the very first and the very last stitch on a row, where we need to join the beads together and to join them bit more securely than a peyote would. So we could go from there to there to there to there, but that wouldn't hold that corner very well. So what we do, our thread is coming out of that bead, we go up its opposite number that it's going to lie next to, and back down, and that is known as a square stitch. You can see why we've done a square movement. So let me now twist around, and I'm now going to do what's called zipping these together. So one on that side, one on that side, one. One. Now you do have to watch, certainly on the smaller beads, that you're not picking something up from the other side. So that's why I separated them out. It's a bit easier to work with when they're separated out. They're less likely to for you to accidentally miss one. So keep on pulling them. Don't need to be that far apart, but I've got my finger between, which again means that I'm not going in to the other side. Okay, and right up to the end. Okay, so we start the last stitch as if it was going to be a peyote stitch. So that one's the next side that we'd go into. But again, we do a square stitch. So down the bead it's going to touch, and then up back through the same the first bead again. Now to move to the other side, we would then go through the end bead. Now it depends on how many of these tacos you're adding together as to whether you at this point join or whether you need to add more tacos to be able to get to that point. But any additional tacos are added in the same way. You would just go down the next bead, and then you would square stitch to what the bead in the next taco that will be its neighbour. And again, when you get to the end, and you repeat that as many times as you have tacos to join together. I'm not going to demonstrate this on the video, but on your last join, your last zipping, what you need to do is you need to add stuffing in, and you always need more stuffing than you think that you need in there.